Google is sitting on a lot of cash, and it's gotten the attention of one investor. Charles Sizemore, CIO of Sizemore Capital Management, is calling on the internet giant to put that money to work in dividends. In a recent post, he says it's time to grow up, wear your big boy pants, and start paying a dividend. Bloomberg stocks editor Mike Regan joins me now. And he doesn't actually own shares, by the way, so this is like a legit call in some capacity. How far is Google behind the curve in the dividend massive payouts that we've seen?
Well, as far as companies of that size, if companies over $50 billion in the U.S., there's about 11 that don't pay dividends. Dave Wilson on our team did a story about this. And it's a pretty interesting list. They're in some interesting company there. Berkshire Hathaway is another one that doesn't pay dividends. A lot of the big biotech companies don't. So in general, pushing Berkshire aside, the idea is that Google wants to spend its money on R&D. It has all sorts of ambitions, obviously, the great space elevator that we've all heard of, but the driverless cars, Google Glass. And it's an interesting time for this topic to come up because so many people are criticizing companies for paying too much in dividends, too much in buybacks, and not investing in their business. So, here's an example of the other side that if you're not paying anything out to shareholders, you're going to hear from people about it too.
But does Google wind up getting a lot of pressure when we're at near record highs for the S&P? Competition is so stiff in some ways for investors. Money in buybacks is a way to kind of woo the money to one side. I mean, is Google going to be forced to do something like that?
Well, and it's, their stock price has sort of flattened out over the last couple of years. The last time they were at a record was like 16 months ago. When
that's pretty significant, considering that we're seeing the NASDAQ hit an all-time record just a few months ago.
Right. But, think of Google, and I'll date myself here a little bit. If you go back to their IPO in 2004, even their IPO was different. It was a Dutch auction, and the joke I made then, if I can recycle then, is that, Google wanted all of Wall Street basically to Google what a Dutch auction is to figure out what they were doing. But even last year, when they created the new share class, they do things their own way. And Larry and Sergey control the company. That's part of why they issued these new shares. And people can complain all they want, but these two guys have the voting control. So unless, they somehow cede control of the votes, they can do whatever they want.
That's a great point. Okay, complain all you want, but at the end of the day, tough luck.